Geshe is a Tibetan word meaning virtuous friend. To attain this respected title may take anywhere from 18 to 25 years of intense study and debate at the monastic university. The final task to becoming a Geshe is to recite an entire text from memory, and one last debate before the abbot of the monastery and his fellow monks. It is the job of the 3,000 or so monks attending this final exam to check the accuracy of his recitation. He will debate with teachers and senior students to prove his mastery of the teachings. Ngawang Trinley appears to be doing very well in his final debate. For the new Geshe Ngawang Trinley, the celebration can now begin. He will sponsor two big pujas, which are offering ceremonies. The first is held at the Sera main temple. The puja begins in the Gampa. This is a formal ceremony, as well as a celebration. Sponsors and friends have tea and snacks in a room above the Gampa, awaiting their time to join the ceremony and to make offerings. Geshe Ngawang, his teacher, close friends and sponsors enter the Gampa. Offerings are made at the throne of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, to the Buddha, and to the temple's Dharma protector. Luncheon rupees are offered to all of the monks of Sera, as well as to his sponsors who have traveled from the US to be a part of this celebration. On the following day, the second puja is held in his home temple, Tehor Kongsen. Here he will provide a special lunch of sweet rice and tea. Preparations for the puja begin early in the morning. 2 huge pots of sweet rice are prepared. Many pounds of butter are melted and added to the rice. Dates and other sweet fruits are also added to the mixture. Stirring the rice is not an easy task. Geshe Lobsang Yeshe, who made the journey from another monastery, keeps an eye on the rice's progress. As the rice nears completion, the monks of Tehor Kongsen crowd into the Gampa. Geshe Ngawang Trinley, his teachers and sponsors, prostrate upon entering the temple. Offerings are again made to His Holiness, the Buddha, and to the Dharma protectors. Led by the Omse, the chanting master, many prayers are said. Outside the temple, the rice is ready, and the specially selected monks prepare to serve those inside. When the time is right, the solemn temple erupts into a whir of rushing robes and spoons clanging on buckets as the sweet rice is delivered at a run. As with all pujas, the final prayers are those of dedication. So how does a boy enter upon the path to Geshe? The path to becoming a Geshe officially begins when a boy arrives here at the monastery, a path that will take him through 10 years of study at the secondary school, where he'll receive his basic education, and followed by 25 years of intense study at the monastic college.
Sera nga bene nga chujukan에 ngazo 도바드면은 ngazo chujukan에 남비치 호주조리네 ngazo 자반다고 제츠가 요래.
In 1991, when Sonam escaped out of Tibet and first arrived at Sera, although he had been dressing and living as a monk, he had not yet taken the formal Getsung vows. He had taken Pamo Rubchung, which means midway. This is a time of self-discovery, when robes are worn and one lives as a monk. Most of the school children at Sera fall into this category. They will not take their Getsung, novice vows, until they are old enough to understand their full meaning.
Just like a father, huh?
Traditionally, when a student arrives at the monastery with the connection to a teacher, he will be assigned to that teacher's house. Now, some 20 years later, Sonam is on the verge of becoming a Geshe. He has also assumed the role of Kashigen, which is a father figure or guardian for his young nephew, who was smuggled out of Tibet and arrived at Sera at the age of 4. This is a very young age for the monastery, but they would never think of turning him away.
My name is Tumbo. My school name is Sera Secondary School. I wake up 5 o'clock morning. Then I go to breakfast to the monastery.
It's 5 a.m. The monastery begins to come to life. Along with the cacophony of tropical birds, clanging pots and sweepers, the voices of monks reciting and memorizing scriptures can be heard through the early morning streets. Before class begins at the Sera Lubtra, there is time for study, breakfast at the temple, then more study. The courtyard of the Lubtra begins to fill. The young monks take advantage of this brief free time to run and play.
Then I go back to school. Then I need to recite and scripture and 2 hours and 7 to 8:45. Then 15 minutes they have a break to play anything. Then 9 o'clock we need to sing a national anthem and pray to all the sponsors and all the teachers to live a long life.
There are 9 classes or grades taught at the Sera school. When weather permits, classes will often be held in the courtyard. These young monks are learning the basics of reading and writing in Tibetan. Memorization is an important part of a young monk's education. It is preparation for the multitude of pages he will be required to learn upon entering the monastic college. All will study Tibetan, Hindi, and English, as well as Tibetan history, Indian history, and the history of the world. The classes are crowded and supplies are sparse, but a love of learning and incredible study habits are instilled in them from the start. Discipline problems, although not unheard of, are uncommon. Science and technology are studied in depth. Math begins with the basics and may continue through calculus. Biology, astronomy, physics, electronics are all included. And of course, religious studies.
I would like to learn all about the science, physics and chemistry and biological. Then I also learn all the Buddhism. Then I compare this. I go to compare.
For most, the school day does not end until 9 p.m. They will take a few breaks during the day, as well as time for lunch and dinner. They return to their home for homework, memorization, and study. The very young monks will be in bed by 10, the older not until midnight. These intense years of study at the Sera school prepare them for the rigors of the monastic university that lay before them. Even the youngest of monks approaches their studies with a keen sense of how fortunate they are to have this opportunity. Tibet is known as the rooftop of the world. The waters from its mountains bring life to all of Asia. Following the wishes of the great sage and teacher Lama Tsongkhapa, Sera was founded in Lhasa, Tibet in 1419. It is one of Tibet's 3 great seats of learning in the Gelugpa tradition. The destruction that came with Mao's communist Chinese invasion of Tibet in 1959 and the cultural revolution that followed nearly brought an end to Tibet's centuries-old monastic tradition. Without a country, without a home, not knowing the fate of their families, many of Sera's monks followed His Holiness to India and exile. It was not until 1970, and with the help of the Indian government, that Sera was re-established in the south of India. The monks from the snow mountain encircled high plains of Tibet found themselves in a totally alien environment, a tropical jungle teeming with life and disease, and faced with the task of keeping their culture alive while building a new home. Sera Monastery is home to over 5,000 monks. It's divided into 2 parts, Sera and Sera The names refer to the location on the hill overlooking Lhasa in Tibet. The monastery is further divided into 13 kongsons, each representing a region of Tibet. Located in the far south of India, 6 hours from Bangalore, Sera Monastery is not an easy place to get to. Though the highway has been improved, it is still busy with everything from ox carts to Mercedes. Once off the highway, the road passes through Camp Tumbo, or First Camp, which is the first Tibetan refugee resettlement camp in Balikupi. Along with its stupa and prayer wheel, Camp Tumbo is home to the Tibetan Children's Village, a safe place for refugee children who have made the dangerous trek across the Himal, escaping Chinese oppression. It is here the Tibetan community struggles to keep its culture and traditions alive, ever hopeful of returning to a free Tibet. The winding road from Camp Tumbo to Sera makes its way through cornfields and other resettlement camps. Distant temples dot the landscape as farmers ready the fields for spring planting. A final turn down a narrow lane, and without warning, you find yourself at the center of Sera. The main intersection of Sera is at times a busy place. A few small shops which provide for basics line the road. Auto rickshaws, which are the main mode of transportation, jockey for position. Sera as a community is made up of more than the Tibetan monks who live here. Monks and lay people of many nationalities come here to study or visit. Volunteers from charitable organizations come here to help with the school or the monastery's clinic. Indians from neighboring villages come here to work. Some come to beg. At the entrance of Sera Lache, an Indian man with leprosy is often seen. The monks help him to bathe and give him food. Out of compassion, a monk recently tried to donate one of his eyes to him. He refused to accept the offer. Once a week, on market day, some of the monks will take the short trip into Kushalnagar. Located on the Kavari River, Kushalnagar is a town of just over 13,000. It is full of the sights and sounds found throughout India. Farmers from the surrounding countryside sell their crops at the open market on the edge of town. Although the community has prospered by the coming of the Tibetans just over 30 years ago, there remains a tender balance between them. There is a centuries-old pace to life in the monastery. Its calming rhythm brings focus to the study and practice of the Buddha Dharma. The sun sets and darkness falls over Sera. busy streets are abandoned to the stray dogs. A moment's pause of silence. Slowly the sound of recitation begins. Rising gradually, it echoes through the empty streets, a Dharma lullaby. The three jewels of Buddhism are the Buddha, the Dharma, which are his teachings, and the Sangha, or the spiritual community. Far from their homeland, the monks of a house become a family. With compassion, the guiding principle of Buddhism, and a deeply held devotion to living the Buddha's teachings, they look after their home and each other. For the youngest, it is like living amongst a group of caring big brothers. For the oldest, it is like being cared for by many loving grandchildren. The monks of Ngawang Trinley's house are preparing for the return of their beloved teacher from the U.S., Venerable Geshe Tsulga, who is accompanied by some of his Western students and sponsors of Ngawang Trinley. Geshe Tsulga is one of Sera and Buddhism's most respected scholars. A welcome celebration is held in the house's Gampa. Each student will offer a white silk scarf called a kata, representing purity of mind. A kata is also offered in welcome to the visiting Western students. The word guru, or lama, literally means spiritual guide. The deeply held devotion of a student for his teacher is only surpassed by that of the teacher for his students. There are 4 levels of the Geshe degree, Larum being the highest and most difficult to attain, Tsokrum, Rigrum, and Lingse. A monk's years at the monastic university are spent mastering the 5 principal treatises. For 5 years, they will study Tselmel Namdro, which are the commentaries of logic. Paramita, the perfection of wisdom, as elaborated upon by Buddha Maitreya in the Abhisamalamkara, will be studied for 7 years. Uma, Chandakirti's commentary on Nagarjuna's root text on Madhyamika, Avoidance of Extremes, will take 4 years of study. Dulba, the Vinaya, which are the canons of monastic discipline, are studied for 4 years. And Zod, Vasubandhu's Abhidharmakosh, the treasure house of knowledge, dwelling on metaphysics and cosmology, is another 2 years. Once a student has completed this roughly 20-year program, he may seek the highest level of Geshe, Larum, which will add an additional 4 to 6 years of study. In the West, we think of a degree as a dividing line. It is where our scholastic life ends and our work life begins. For the monastic, it is the continuation of a lifelong pursuit of learning and living the Dharma. It is said that if something is true, the closer you look at it, the truer it will become. From this, debate was born. Debate is where a monk will reinforce his understanding of the teachings. A premise must be supported through logic. Debate is highly ritualized and can at times be very intense. The rules are complex and take many years to master. Debate is seen as a form of analytical meditation. Memorization and understanding are keys to success in debate. You don't bring your books to a debate session. Geshe Ngawang makes traditional offerings to Geshe Tsulga, and in turn receives a blessing. The week-long celebration is coming to a close. Many friends and teachers will come to congratulate Geshe Ngawang with a small offering and a kata. In the Tibetan tradition of hospitality, he will provide treats and a gift for each visitor.
This is Tamrin Tata, Tibetan called Tamrin, English called Hayangawa. This is Sera Dharma protector. I can give this today. The monks come give me kata. Just I give little present for them.
You painted them?
Yeah, then I paint them.
Although some will try to hurry off, Geshe Ngawang and his brother monks will playfully insist they sit for at least a little while. Geshe Ngawang Trinley and the other new Geshes will now assume a new role within both the monastic community and the Tibetan community. A Geshe is more than an academic. He is a respected teacher, role model, and leader. Tibetan Buddhism is an oral tradition, and a Geshe is recognized as a direct link reaching back 2,500 years to the Buddha and his teachings. A Tibetan monastery is a place of light, laughter, and love. Most importantly, it's a place of intense study and intense dedication to the Dharma. The achievement of the degree of Geshe is only the beginning for these monks. Their dedication to spreading the Dharma and teaching the Dharma is what's most important.